I'm Shelby,
And I'm Casey.
and this is Chill Seeker. So this is the fourth installment in my UAP, UFO, NHI, MH370, and all the freaking acronyms series. We're in deep, guys, and if you're still here, congratulations on being one of the few willing to question what our governments and media tell us. When I tell you that I've been obsessed with this case, I mean that it has barely left my mind from when I wake up until I fall asleep since I first started digging into it. The hole just gets deeper and deeper and deeper and seems like it never ends. And just when you think you know what happened, you realize there's a whole other side of the story that you missed entirely. I promise you, this episode will have your head spinning in circles, trying to rationalize things that seem beyond the scope of our reality. If you haven't listened to my last episodes, pause this right now and go do it. None of this will make sense until you have. Seriously, pause this and go listen. For those of you who've made it this far, I hope you have a tinfoil hat nearby to try on just for this episode. I promise you can take it off as soon as we're done. So let's start with a quote by famous theoretical physicist Albert Einstein. "Reality is merely an illusion, albeit a very persistent one." Okay, let's go. All right. Last episode, we covered the disappearance of Malaysian Flight MH370, the main theories, the investigation, and the search. Now, I'm going to tell you the story of the debunked, rebunked, hoax, or possibly top secret leaked videos of what some call the MH370 abduction. The first video was posted by an anonymous YouTube account, Regicide Anon, on May 19th, 2014. 72 days after MH370 vanished. And then the second video was posted by the same user a month later. If you haven't seen these videos, I posted them on social media and Patreon, and I highly recommend you watch them. Like, you have to watch them to understand what I'm talking about. But for those listening, I'm going to give Casey the videos, have her watch them, and describe what she's seeing. And she's watching them in order of when they were released.
Okay, I see the plane. Looks like it's just flying like normal. Oh wow. Now it's got like 3 different orb type things going in a circle around the plane, and it looks like they're changing the path of the plane. What was that? Okay, the orbs are like going around this plane, and then all of a sudden there's this big flash, and then the plane just completely disappears.
Anybody seeing that would be like CGI, right? Which, we're going to get into the details of this today. So I'm not asking you to believe if you're listening. And I'm not even asking Casey to believe, although she jumps on that bandwagon pretty quick, which I love. Okay, so pull up the second video now. And this one is supposed to be video of the same event, but it is FLIR footage. So it's like infrared, and it looks different. Obviously, it's like put in like a rainbow colors with like heat codes, so it's like red for hot and blue for the background. So you can just see the same thing, but it's like filmed differently. So tell me what you're seeing.
Oh, wow. To me, it's even more distinct what's going on in this version of the video, because you can actually see the way the orbs are moving around the plane, and you can see like essentially like the trail that they're going.
Yeah, like they're leaving like almost like a trail of smoke behind them. But I mean, not smoke, but whatever it is, right?
Whoa, and then we still get the flash.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously, if you see these videos, you're going to think that they're fake. Like, duh, right? But there's a reason why I'm bringing them up. There are some startling similarities between the things in these videos, the orbs, spheres, whatever you want to call them, and the things described in the Immaculate Constellation whistleblower report. So if you've been keeping up, That one was the second episode I did, and it was all about this report that was released by Congress recently in November of 2024. I want to take us back to one incident described in the report that is eerily similar to the events depicted in these videos. It describes the following. Metallic orbs intercept F-22 on CONUS air surveillance and control mission. While performing a routine airspace surveillance and control mission in the Eastern Air Defense Sector, an F-22 pilot observed multiple UAP contacts at mission altitude. Moving to intercept, the F-22 pilot noted multiple metallic orbs, slightly smaller than a sedan, hovering in place. Upon vectoring towards the UAPs, a smaller formation of the metallic orbs accelerated at rapid speed towards the F-22, which was unable to establish radar locks on the presumed hostile UAPs. The F-22 broke trajectory and attempted to evade, but was intercepted and boxed in by approximately 3 to 6 UAPs. One UAP maneuvered in proximity around 12 meters to the area directly starboard of the cockpit. There, the UAP established a rigid spatial relationship with the F-22, maintaining its exact position and orientation parallel with the F-22's cockpit, despite multiple evasive rolls and maneuvers. Surrounded by the presumed hostile UAPs, the F-22 was forced out of the mission area under the escort of the UAP formation.
But I feel like you just described the video I watched. Is that a description
Right?
of the video I watched?
No. So, I mean, this is an F-22, a fighter jet. That was obviously a Boeing 777, commercial airliner, passenger plane.
Okay,
so, no, totally different.
But literally the exact same description of the video you had me watch. Like, verbatim, down to like the metallic Honda Civics just going around.
Yeah, no, I know, and we're gonna analyze this and look at the similarities between them, because I agree, and that's the only reason why I'm bringing up the MH370 videos, whether they're a hoax or somehow real, because they are so similar to what's going on in this report in this particular incident. Yeah, I mean, we're gonna look at the specific similarities, and it might blow your mind.
I mean, I'm already mind blown.
Blown. All right, so we're talking metallic orbs that are slightly smaller than a sedan. People have done the math on this, and the orbs depicted in the MH370 videos match this size description. In this incident, a plane is boxed in by 3 to 6 UAPs hovering and surrounding it, just like the 3 UAPs that appear in the videos, circling around the 777. One notable difference between this account and the one in the videos is that in this one of the orbs is described as, quote, maintaining a rigid spatial relationship with the F-22, maintaining its position around 12 meters away and staying that exact distance relative to the plane, even as the pilot performed evasive rolls trying to escape it, which is insane. As the report describes, the pilot was forced to abandon his mission and flee under the escort of the UAP formation. In the supposed MH370 videos, the 3 orbs did not stay in an exact position relative to the plane, but rather circled it in this strange way, like a pinwheel rotating around the axis of a plane, or like planets orbiting around the sun. It's just very weird to see. Still, the similarities between what is seen in the MH370 videos and described in this report are extremely disturbing, as Casey already mentioned, considering the anomalous nature of this phenomena. And quite frankly, it feels really sinister. It feels really dark. And, you know, the orbs were described in the Immaculate Constellation incident report as presumed hostile. Like, that's the vibe I'm getting from these videos. So we've had this conversation before, Casey, as to like the, you know, the good or the evil nature of these potential, you know, whether it's beings or just the UAPs, UFOs themselves. And like, it's not looking good here, in my opinion.
I mean, you know me, I always tend to go with like, oh, they're probably good. But then after seeing these videos, I'm like, oh shit.
Yeah.
That's terrifying.
Yeah. I know. Okay, so I want to reiterate the fact that this report was submitted to Congress under penalty of perjury, using new whistleblower protections that have just recently been put in place. If the information in the report is found to be untruthful, the source will face prison time for lying to Congress. It must also be restated that this report was submitted to Congress and released by Congress for the first time in November of 2024, like I said. The first MH370 video was leaked onto the internet on May 19th, 2014, 10 years before the Immaculate Constellation report. There is absolutely no possible way that whoever leaked or created the MH370 videos was inspired by the incident described above. I would argue that if the video was a hoax, it would have to have been created by someone with intimate knowledge of real incidents reported regarding metallic orbs in planes, in the military or somewhere, right? Because how else would they have gotten this information? And of course, you could also suggest that the source of the Immaculate Constellation report fabricated the above incident entirely and that they were just inspired by these MH370 videos from 10 years ago, and that's why they wrote this in the report. They twisted the story, added new details, made it a different plane, and instead of going around the plane, these things just kind of stay where they are while the plane moves. It's possible, right? They could have totally fabricated it, and even though it's under penalty of perjury, maybe they had some reason to lie. I want to keep all the options open here, but it certainly is strange.
I'm glad you're keeping the options open because I'm over here like, nah, the video's real. Like, it's the show real. Like, 10 years later, and it's exact. Like, I'm sorry, but nah.
Okay, well, we're going to get into like all the technical stuff because this video was debunked. Like, a bunch of people spent a lot of time trying to debunk it, and some would say that they completely successfully did that. And that's why we need to get into the details of what exactly happened in the timeline and get deeper into the controversy surrounding this video, well, the two videos, and the analysis of it. I want to be clear that I am not an expert, but I'm doing my best to provide a comprehensive report on the different issues with these videos, from both the perspectives of the videos being real and also being a complete hoax. I've literally spent multiple days just researching these specific videos and trying to get a handle on the facts around them. The problem with this is that all the facts are disputed, pretty much. Like, a lot of controversy here, a lot of people with very different and strong opinions. I promise, though, that I will present everything as unbiased as possible in exactly the way that I best understand it. Okay, so the first video is apparently a 3D stereoscopic satellite recording that was posted by user Regicide Anon on YouTube on May 19th, 2014 with the description, received March 12th, 2014, source protected. March 12th is just 4 days after MH370 went missing. Someone with the same username then posted the video link to Twitter, tagging people in the UFO community, hashtagging MH370, and asking people to please spread this video before it is pulled. The video had partially visible letters and numbers in the bottom corner and indicated that it was taken in the Nicobar Islands. It must be noted that the video appears in daytime colors, even though the video would have been recorded in darkness with the timeline of the flight itself. Many people have pointed out, though, that there are known satellite tools that can record things as though they are in day, even though they're actually being recorded at night. So this doesn't necessarily rule out the videos being real. A month later, a FLIR video of the same event, but from a different perspective, was posted by the same user on YouTube. So that's the second video that you watched, Casey. This time the caption was, received 5 June 2024, published 12 June 2024. This FLIR footage included the orbs, of course, but added a new element of intrigue in the form of the visible contrails behind the orbs that you mentioned earlier. It also showed glowing red patches in what would be the plane's cargo hold and a slight trail of something that could maybe be smoke coming from the back of the plane. Some people's analysis of this video led them to believe that the red patches represented a fire, possibly lending some credibility to the idea of a lithium-ion battery explosion that we discussed in the last episode. How this may relate to the existence of the orbs, though, is totally unclear. If it is just a lithium-ion battery fire, why did the orbs show up?
Yeah, why the mini Honda Civics just going in circles? I'm sorry, but no, that doesn't explain anything.
I know, it doesn't. It just adds more questions. Like a lot of this stuff, I have to say. So, anyway, a few months later, in the summer of 2014, a second higher quality video of the original version of the satellite video was uploaded to Vimeo anonymously. This video had slightly more numbers and letters visible in the bottom left, indicating that the original video posted by Regicide Anon was not the source video and that both came from third-party origin. So yeah, basically this video was higher quality and was posted later and suggested that, like, okay, they didn't take it from the Regicide Anon video, so it must have been either somewhere on the dark web, people have speculated, or maybe there was the source in the military or whoever took this footage and leaked it, you know, gave it to multiple sources. I mean, we don't know.
I think it's the latter.
Can we speculate? Yeah.
I speculate that it's probably someone in the military who was being a whistleblower and was like, the world deserves to see this and know what happened. That's my theory.
Okay, well, you know, we'll see if you keep that theory by the time I get finished, because there are other people who believe that. All right. This video also showed more of the letters and numbers that were visible in the first video, confirming that both were apparently taken with an NROL-22 or NROL-22 satellite. The NROL-22 satellite was launched in 2006, according to Wikipedia, with its orbit and mission completely classified, of course. However, we do know that it generally takes a Molniya orbit, which coincidentally comes very close to the flight path of MH370 on the day it went missing. It's also worth noting that this is actually, as mentioned earlier, a stereoscopic video, meaning that the image is taken using two cameras to create a 3D scene. This tracks because, according to NASA's website, this NROL-22 satellite does in fact carry TWINS-1, or two wide-angle imaging neutral atom spectrometer instrumentation. To say the least, if this video was faked, it would have taken a considerable amount of knowledge and skill for all these facts to line up just so.
Yeah, so it's real.
Well, yeah, like, why would they have made it a stereoscopic video, right? If you're making a hoax video, why would you bother to do that? While they have been floating around fringe conspiracy groups for years, the videos really started gaining popularity and circling the internet in 2023, after the congressional hearings with Dave Grush, David Fravor, and Ryan Graves renewed interest in UAPs. We covered all that in my first episode. People immediately became obsessed with both proving them to be real and debunking them as completely fake, obviously. Now, I'll discuss some arguments for them being fake. Firstly, the apparent portal or wormhole that can be seen at the end of the videos, this is the flash that you talked about, was compared to existing VFX ink blot or portal effects. However, I believe that this theory was pretty soundly debunked, as people pointed out the clear discrepancies between the effects and the portal in the video. Also noting that while this specific shape is present in many video games and animated movies, it is also something that is inherently natural, like it's present in nature in the similar way to a fractal or a waveform. People also pointed out that the clouds in the video do not move. However, when sped up, the clouds are seen moving and expanding slightly over the course of the video. Just as this story was really picking up steam in the mainstream eye, the biggest and most definitive debunk came in the beginning of 2024, when an anonymous 6-day-old Reddit account posted claiming that they had done a cursory 20-minute search and found copies of the clouds used in the video on an obscure stock image website, textures.com. According to sleuths, these image files' EXIF data showed a creation date of 2012, and they were higher quality images than were present in the video, indicating that they clearly came first. This is the thing that people point to when saying the video is definitively fake. The supposed original photographer of the photos was contacted and made a YouTube video confirming that the pictures were his and debunking the video. I know. I won't lie, the clouds in the textures.com files are a clear match to the ones in the video. Like, you line them up, it's obvious. I know. But anyone who says that they aren't, they're in denial. However, everything may not be exactly as it seems. Upon investigating, well-known controversial figure in the UFO community, Ashton Forbes, found that in old torrents from the time the cloud pictures were supposedly on the website, they were suspiciously absent from files containing the contents of the entire website at the time.
What?
In addition, yeah, I know.
That's convenient.
It's a little strange. In addition, when searching the Wayback Machine, it was found that the cloud images date back to 2016, 2 years after the videos were released. Moreover, the data files of the assets in question were modified or updated on the Textures website on December 4th, 2023.
What is this Textures website?
I know, right? It's like this obscure like VFX website. Like I'd never heard of it. Apparently a lot of people have never heard of it. It's just like a stock image website, just like there are, tens of thousands of those out there. When prompted, the website owner did produce data that apparently shows these specific pictures existed since October 2014, which, even if accurate, still post dates the videos.
That part.
Yeah, like, I don't know. It's weird.
Mathing. Timeline is not timelining.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking this whole time, though, is like none of this makes sense. There's so much conflicting information, so who really knows what's real? But I still have a lot more to share. According to Ashton, it was also found that reverse image searches of the specific images in question did not lead back to the website. These were supposedly 11 years old and thus should have been indexed by Google by this time. Like they should have shown up. Meanwhile, reverse image searches of other images in the same collection. So like it was, a file of a bunch of clouds in this album or whatever, and they did reverse image searches on all the different pictures, and they all led back to the website except for the ones in question that were supposedly used in the videos.
You know what this is making me think of?
What?
Do you remember a few years back, there was like this really bad photo of Beyonce that just depicted her in a way that she doesn't normally look, and she hated this photo, so she had it completely scrubbed from the internet. You could not find it anywhere.
When I heard of that, I was so shocked that was possible to do, like actually completely scrub something from the internet if you have enough money. Like I did not think that was possible, but you're totally right. That picture is gone.
If Beyonce can do it, so can the government.
Right? I mean, obviously. Yeah, I definitely agree. Like, no matter what happened with these videos, I believe that the government has a lot of control to fake things. I mean, they've run disinformation campaigns and it's been proven in different situations before. So I'm not saying that's what happened here, but it's definitely a possibility. That's all I'll say. Some also note that it seems suspicious, or maybe just very lucky, that the anonymous Reddit user claims to have found the pictures in question on this very obscure website in just 20 minutes out of literally millions of files. This has led some to accuse him of either being the original hoaxer or part of a government cover-up.
I vote the second one.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is why, if you're listening right now, you better have listened to my other episodes, because there's a lot building up to this point and me even sharing this, and I certainly wouldn't have started here because we're in deep. Like, this is all the way down the rabbit hole into conspiracy tinfoil hat land. So I hope that you listen to them, or else we probably sound real crazy right now. But maybe we sound crazy anyway. Also, claims that it would have been impossible to create higher image quality files from the MH370 video and share them on textures.com have been proven wrong, as people were able to use AI bots or tools to fill in the blanks of these images and upscale them successfully, using the files in the original video to match the quality and size of the images on textures.com. The AI tools utilized to do this have been around for years, especially if we're talking about some kind of government psyop being behind this. Like, they definitely would have been able to do this if they wanted to. Not saying they did, but they could have. Even I have experience using AI tools and immediately was suspicious of this claim of original image files having to come from the website and not the MH370 video, simply because they were higher quality. And people really said this like it was definitive. Like, oh, no, these are higher quality than the video, therefore it's over, it's a hoax. And like, no, you can definitely upscale things with the tech that we have now, and the government would have had that tech then. It's also worth mentioning that many people believe the top agencies of our government likely have a backdoor entrance to websites like the Wayback Machine, Meta, Google, etc. And it's not too crazy to think that they could manipulate data in an obscure website like textures.com. So next, I'll discuss one piece of evidence that does seem to suggest the credibility of the video. The illumination of the clouds in it. We're talking about the first video that was released. When the apparent portal or wormhole appears at the end of the video, right as the plane disappears, there's that flash of light that Casey was talking about. Most of the clouds are in the foreground and thus are backlit, except for a small puff of clouds in the background behind the flash and behind the plane. It is imperceptible without precise analysis, But when you break it down, it's clear that all the clouds are accurately illuminated just how they would be in real life. While it certainly does not prove the legitimacy of the video, this is just a very small and specific detail to get perfect by the hoaxer, especially if using 2D cloud assets taken from photographs on a website. So just be like a really, really good hoax video if, it's a hoax, because everything was lit up perfectly and like you couldn't even just see with your eye. You had to like break it down frame by frame, brighten things, contrast everything to like even be able to tell. And when you did that, it all lined up. People also bring up the fact that the frame rate of the mouse cursor on the screen and the plane in the video are different, but that could be explained because of the way the video was recorded. If real, the original satellite video was clearly taken via screen capture of a window on a computer, apparently through a Citrix remote terminal, not directly from the device itself. The window was closed, exited out after the plane disappeared, indicating that it was not captured in real time. So if the video is a hoax, it was created by someone and then recorded separately via screen capture and then uploaded. So it's like a lot of steps, you know what I mean? You'd think you make a hoax video, just put the video out there. But no, this was like very elaborate. At least for you or me. Like if I was doing a hoax, it wouldn't be this good. But anyway. It is also strange that in this video, the plane is far away and not visibly recognizable as a 777. So that's also just an interesting choice by the hoaxer, because you'd think that you'd want to make it obvious that this is MH370. I mean, there were other clues, right? The Nicobar Islands, all of that, the satellite, but still, it's like...
Yeah, if you're gonna hoax, go full hoax. You don't half hoax.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it does match a 777. So like, I'm not saying that the plane isn't actually the same. It's just that it's so far away, you like can't really tell. The existence of a second FLIR video from a different perspective is also very confusing. This part is like, it really gets me. I don't know why they would have made a second video. If it is a hoax, why bother creating it at all from an entirely different perspective, where all the forms of the clouds do seem to perfectly match under analysis? Like, why would you even bother to do that?
It's way too much effort.
Yeah, like the first video is already there. It's circling, whatever. Is it just like bring attention to it or something? I just don't understand the reasoning behind that if it is a hoax. So Ashton, Forbes, I mentioned him earlier, and many animators pointed out that doing this would have required a meticulous 3D digital rendering of the environment. And if it was a 3D digital rendering that was created by the hoaxer, why would they have needed or used the 2D image assets from textures.com? As one Reddit user astutely muses, quote, "Is the hoaxer a mastermind of deception and a 4D pro chess player? Or are these videos genuinely authentic? I don't think that there's a middle ground."
I have a personal anecdote for you, actually from the same era. So I'm pretty sure I posted this video in 2014. And it was, do you remember Vine?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so it was when Vine was popping. And I had this video of my dogs, Olive and Ringo, for 2 miniature dachshunds. And they used to play fight when they were puppies. And how they would do it is they would like lay on their bodies, but like facing each other, and they would just like paw at each other. And it was so cute. So
cute.
I recorded it and I said to them, if you stop fighting, I'll give you a treat. And at the same exact time, they stopped, but there's like a pause in the video. Like I didn't pause the video, but they actually paused when they heard the word treat. And then they immediately pop up at the same exact time. And it is such a cute video, but so many people commented on the video saying that it was faked, that I edited it, that there was no way this video was real. And then they were like tearing apart the part where Olive and Ringo paused before they got up. It just goes to show that people don't want to believe something because either it's too cute or it's unbelievable. So they're just going to make a reason for it to be fake, even if it's real.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I have a similar experience from when I actually got this really horrible spider bite, and it was like a 6-month ordeal. It was like this flesh-eating venom. It was fucking terrible. And so I couldn't walk and everything. But anyway, that's not the point of the story. At the end, it actually healed and it looked like a heart. So it's like a heart, like, I don't know, maybe that big, like the size of like a mandarin orange, like a mini orange or something. But it's shaped like a heart and it's a scar on my ankle. So I took a picture of it and I posted it on Reddit and it actually went viral. And it's funny, they ended up doing like a Newsweek article about it, and like, you know how they take viral things, and a couple different magazines picked it up. But anyway, it went really viral. But so many of the comments were people saying that it was fake, that a spider bite could never do that. It must have been a bird, that it was all, you know, VFX makeup and I had just faked it, or Photoshop. It was clearly edited because they zoomed in on such and such pixels. Like, you know what I mean? It was like,
oh my God, I'm so sorry that you've had a similar experience, but it's just funny. It's funny when you're the person and you're like, wait, no, that's like 100% real.
It's totally
like,
real. I know.
That's crazy that people are commenting that. Okay, so we'll share the viral video of Olive and Ringo and then your viral star.
The spider bite, yeah. I will.
Yeah, it's amazing.
So funny. Yeah, people love to say things are a hoax. And I mean, like I've said in other episodes, I don't think that debunking things is a bad practice. Like, I want people to investigate UFO videos and like really break them down. I want graphic designers and people who are video editors to like look at stuff carefully and try to suss out if it's real. I do think that's really important, but I think these examples just go to show how eager people are sometimes to say that something's fake, you know, without even investigating, without giving it a chance. Another good example that is right in line with everything we're talking about are the gimbal, go fast, TikTok videos that I discussed in the first episode. Those were debunked soundly by people who like have big followings and, you know, made videos saying, oh, it's like a weather balloon, it's a bird, you know, different things. But then those were, of course, confirmed by the Pentagon and the Department of Defense to be real, and that we don't know what they are. And they have all these incident reports along with them of like, you know, the pilot's experiences. Like, it wasn't a bird, it wasn't a balloon, it was a UFO. And so just goes to show that just because something is debunked doesn't mean that it's actually fake.
Exactly. The truth will always come out. Remember that.
That was very metal. It sounded like a threat, I feel like. You're like threatening me, like, what did I do?
Oh no,
I'm gonna get found out.
No, it's directed to one person and we both know the person.
Yeah, you're right, actually, I do. That's a story for another day for our listeners. Okay. Now I'm going to bring you back to the Immaculate Constellation Report to review a few more mind-bending pieces to this puzzle so you can decide for yourself if it's a hoax or not. This report has a section about orbs, where it describes a few interesting characteristics. It explicitly states that the orbs have high maneuverability and are, quote, often observed to fly in complex geometrical formations to operate in tandem. End quote. This tracks exactly with the behavior of the orbs exhibited in the video as they fly in a strange wave-like formation that is clearly geometric around the 777. Like, super strange and not something I would even like imagine. Like, it's so weird. It's not something that's a part of, I would say, popular culture or science fiction. It's like, this is like a weird idea that I've never heard before, again, the MH370 videos and then this report. The report also describes how the orbs create, quote, occasional disturbances in cloud formations. Okay, and this is particularly significant because close analysis of the MH370 videos, they're like zoomed in and blown up and, you know, so you can really see what's going on. And in both of the videos, the FLIR footage and the stereoscopic satellite footage, clearly shows small disturbances in the clouds as the orbs fly through them. There's like little wisps that come off. And that directly lines up with the cloud disturbances described in this report and is like not something that I've ever heard of before or would even think of if you were creating a hoax video. It's such a specific detail. And like, again, you literally have to like zoom in and slow down the video to even see this happening. So it's just another strange piece of the puzzle that doesn't really quite line up, right?
So much effort for a hoax.
I mean, to be fair, people have done extremely elaborate hoaxes, so I don't want to say that it's not possible. But like, when all of these things line up, it's just really weird. Like, almost to me, it's like if the MH370 videos are a hoax, it seems like the Immaculate Constellation Report also has to be falsified, or the person who made the MH370 videos had to have had some kind of knowledge of reported interactions with the military, you know, like the fighter jet one that we talked about, to know that this was a thing and that the orbs were reported to have all these different characteristics that nobody else knew about or was talking about at the time, right?
Oh, for sure. Like if this is a hoax, which I don't think it is, someone would have to have so much insider information to even make this video, because once again, this video was 10 years prior to all of the information coming out from the government.
So, the Immaculate Constellation report also describes how, quote, heat wave contrails have been reported trailing behind the orbs, just like the contrails that you talked about, Casey, right, in the FLIR footage. So this is a very unique characteristic and something that is clearly present in that MH370 FLIR video. Contrails are visible behind each orb, almost like a trail of something that looks like it could be smoke. And it's also something weird, it's only in the FLIR video. Like, it's not in the stereoscopic footage video. You can't see it, which implies that it's only visible with like this technology. You know, it's this really high tech that isn't just capturing an image like an eye would see. It's capturing details about the heat signature of things, right? And so, like, why would the hoaxer put this in the FLIR footage and not in the first video, in the satellite footage? Like, again, just a really strange detail. And also not something that's ever been discussed outside of this report that I could find any evidence of. Like, I scoured the internet. The contrails are a really specific thing, and nobody had been talking about this before this report was released, let alone in 2014. Lastly, the report details how orbs are known to create, quote, electronic device malfunctions and electromagnetic effects on military electronics. If we are considering the validity of the MH370 video, just considering, we also have to consider the idea that the sudden and inexplicable shutdown of the electrical systems, which according to some pilots would have been impossible for the pilot to execute in the given time frame, were caused by the orbs. Just something to consider. Once again, electromagnetic and electronic disturbances are frequently reported in association with UFO sightings and abduction experiences and all kinds of crazy things. It's just like something super common that keeps coming up. So it's just worth mentioning, right? To summarize, it has become very evident that many aspects of the Immaculate Constellation report from 2024 are present in the MH370 videos from 2014. Many of these are obscure and defy conventional explanation, like the orbs having contrails in the FLIR footage, the geometric formation that they flew in, and the barely noticeable disturbances in the cloud formations. Like, such specific things. Doesn't make any sense, right? There are also strange details that the hoaxer would have had to take into account. The type of satellite that supposedly recorded the video having an orbital path that takes it right through the location of the MH370 diverted flight path. And knowing that this type of satellite has the Twins 1 instrumentation and thus records stereoscopic footage. Like, I guess they could have done the research. Like, this information, I was able to find it, presumably. It could have been out there back then in 2014, so nothing is impossible here, right? I don't know. The video also showed apparently accurate coordinate shifts relative to the locations. This is the first video, the stereoscopic one, which would have had to be animated separately and added to the video. So just another layer of complexity, just added on top of another layer of complexity. Anyway, the frame rate of the satellite footage also perfectly matches what we know about the real equipment, with the frame rate of the mouse even perfectly matching the frame rate exhibited by the real Citrix servers that are used by our military. The mouse cursor is also distinct, and according to Ashton Forbes, it's coming from him, was found to match the cursors used by actual military systems. Once again, the rendering of a 3D environment to create two matching videos from different perspectives is just such a strange detail, especially if 2D photograph assets were supposedly used from textures.com. Like, I keep coming back to that. Like, why would you use 2D assets when you have to render a 3D environment?
You wouldn't.
I know. And why not just make the first video with the 2D effects and leave it at that? Like, you don't need to make the second video. Doesn't make any sense. The addition of the orb contrails in the second video too that are not present in the first one indicates that they were only picked up by infrared and not the normal satellite video, once again. The hoaxer would have had to plan this, but why? And why do the behaviors of these orbs in videos from 2014 so closely match those of the Immaculate Constellation report in 2024? Like, it's super strange.
That part, like, it's literally like when you were reading me the entry from the report, I literally thought it was about this case. I didn't realize that you were reading what was released last year. So eerily similar that it's crazy that people still think this video is a hoax.
I mean, yeah, that's the overwhelming consensus. So like, I'm really, like I said, tinfoil hat, like we're here. I hope that if you're listening, I hope you don't think I'm totally crazy, and just really try to suspend reality and what you think you know for a minute. Just take this all in. And I'm not asking you to believe. Just like always, I want you to decide for yourself and just like be open-minded. You know, I'm not saying anything is absolutely true or absolutely false. Like, it's just that these things, these facts that all come together, and you know, some of the facts are disputed, like I said, but all of it stacks up in a really interesting way that just, I feel like at the very least, you have to be concerned or intrigued when you hear all of this. On an interesting side note, Top Gun Maverick visual effects artists publicly proclaimed that the MH370 videos exhibited more accuracy and detail than the work that they did for the movie that was released in 2022.
What?
Again, Top Gun Maverick. Yeah.
Wait, literally Top Gun Maverick, where they have a huge budget, can hire the best people. Okay, I'm sorry, but that sells it for me. This video is real.
Pretty crazy. Yeah, they said that, I mean, they were creating video very similar to this for the movie, obviously. You know, it's military planes. They're doing this kind of research to create these things. And they said that it didn't even come close to the MH370 videos. I mean, that's pretty crazy. Like, those are VFX artists on a top movie, like you said. So, I don't know. Also, a visual effects expert for Marvel movies weighed in, saying that it would have taken at least 6 months to create a video with that level of detail and accuracy using today's technology. Today,
And we're talking about 10 years ago.
2014.
And
yeah.
Also, 6 months when the videos were released. What did you say? 72 days?
72 days was the first video. I mean, these are VFX artists. Like, they're not all knowing, you know, they're giving their opinion and weighing in on this, but it's anecdotal speculation, but it's worth discussing, I think. If the video is real, you might be asking the question, why does it even exist in the first place? You know, why was it created? Did the government just like happen to be recording that spot, or were they tracking the plane? You know, why or how would it have been recorded by the US government's NROL 22 satellite? This question is addressed in the Immaculate Constellation Report, which clearly asserts that the US government is engaged in a global and comprehensive UAP tracking effort. Quote, "The data within Immaculate Constellation reveals the capacity of the U.S. Armed Services and military intelligence community to detect, track, identify, and engage anomalous transmedium platforms, or UAPs. Its existence provides verifiable evidence of the participation by elements of the U.S. Armed Services, Defense Civil Service, and the intelligence community in a global surveillance and reconnaissance mission tasked with monitoring UAPs and ARVs." So I know that was a mouthful, but at the very least, these statements support the possibility that the MH370 videos could have been recorded and then leaked, right? We also know that the United States military has a global persistent surveillance system known as SBIRS, the space-based infrared system created by Lockheed Martin. And like, everything about this is super classified, but it's basically this huge surveillance system over the entire planet. In addition to SBIRS, the US has satellites in operation orbiting the planet at all times. It is certain that these satellites are surveilling a large portion of the entire planet. In the original satellite MH370 video, the person doing the screen recording is seen pausing the video and panning across the screen to track the plane. This suggests that the captured footage was probably a very large area, and that it is possible, if real, this event may have simply just been captured by chance. Like, they weren't specifically zeroed in on, you know, tracking this specific plane and capturing this, and they knew this was going to happen. It's like, no, they just have surveillance everywhere because the United States government is a surveillance state, and they, you know, I mean, they want to surveil the entire world, right? And they just happen to catch this. So I feel like I'm leaning towards that rather than it being some kind of like mission that they knew this was going to happen or were tracking it. It's more likely that like they just know what's going on almost all the time, pretty much everywhere.
I'm with you on that. Yeah.
Even if no satellites captured footage of the plane crash or incident itself, some people, it's not me, this is some people, have argued that there's no possible way our satellites, and specifically SBIRS, would not have seen the debris field of a Boeing 777 in the ocean. So like, if there was a debris field and we would have had to have seen it, why couldn't we locate it? Just an idea. Again, I'm not saying, I think it's possible in the same way that planes have gone down. Mostly they have been recovered. It is the weird thing. Like, this is a very unique situation where it just totally went missing. But I don't know what the mechanics are of like when a plane crashes into the ocean, if it always leaves a big debris field, or maybe it just like sunk right down, right? Like, we don't know the specifics of what happened, but I just thought I would bring that up since a lot of people have talked about it. Now, I would be remiss without telling you that all the way back in May of 2014, just a few months after the plane disappeared, former Malaysian Prime Minister Mahathir Mohamad claimed that, quote, MH370 did not crash, and its current whereabouts may be known to the CIA and the Boeing Aircraft Company, criticizing the media for refusing to print anything concerning either the CIA or the Boeing Corporation.
Yo.
I know. Like, that's a revelation, right?
Oh man, that is gnarly.
He talked about how the details of the disappearance didn't make sense, and the communication system, quote, must have been disabled remotely, or else it would have been tracked by satellites, which normally provide data on all commercial flights, inclusive of data on location, kind of aircraft, flight number, departure airport, and destination. But, he continues, the data seems unavailable. The plane just disappeared seemingly from all screens, end quote. Lastly, just 6 weeks after the plane had vanished, Royal Malaysian Air Force Chief Razali Daud spoke of, quote, unidentified blobs on military radar just before MH370 vanished.
They clearly don't think the video is fake.
So they haven't specifically mentioned the videos that were released. They're more just criticizing the US government and Boeing for not giving them more information on this. But I do think it's really interesting that, like, they know that planes are pretty much always tracked by satellites, and why the hell would this plane not be tracked by a satellite suddenly? Like, it doesn't make any sense. So, very strange. This begs the question, is it possible that the United States government did capture satellite surveillance of MH370? But there was something in this footage that was simply too earth-shattering to trust in the hands of the Malaysian government. Something like, perhaps, the leaked satellite video with the orbs zapping the plane into the abyss, right? Like, the government would not have wanted this kind of information in the hands of the Malaysian government.
Exactly. Well, and of course, my mind is like, oh, it's all capitalist driven, where they can't release this footage because then people aren't going to want to go on planes.
Yeah, I mean, I'm certainly going to be thinking about it. Like, I don't think it would be possible to hear this story and not at least just have it cross your mind, even if you think it's completely bullshit. In the same way that, like, when I jump in a pool and go underwater and close my eyes, like, I picture a shark coming up for me. You know what I mean? It's like almost like that. Like, maybe it's totally fake, but I'm still going to think about it. And yeah, I mean, I think that's definitely something that would be a concern. Even though, as far as we know, this was a completely isolated incident. Obviously, there's been no other reports of, like, strange, or there's been a lot of reports, actually, of strange orbs around planes. Like, recently, from 20 years ago, I mean, even back in, like, the 50s, you know, one of the first sightings, I forget exactly the date, but it was at Mount Rainier, out where I live in Washington State, where the first pilot who saw, like, the flying saucers coined that term, and he was a pilot flying a plane when he saw this. So, like, these things have been in the air around commercial pilots and fighter pilots, as we learned in, you know, my first episode, for a very long time. So the orbs and the strangely shaped UFOs, UAPs are not new. But I've never heard of them zapping a plane into the abyss before. So, like, that part is isolated, if it is real at all. One last strange bit of evidence can be found in the depths of the NRO, or National Reconnaissance Office's website, which is a U.S. government agency operating under the Department of Defense that is responsible for the design, development, launch, and operation of spy satellites used for intelligence gathering, surveillance, and reconnaissance. Whoa, a lot of words. In a PowerPoint presentation on this agency's official website, dated 2015, just 1 year after the MH370 disappearance, entitled Future Lab Architecture, an objective listed under Expectations Part 1 states, a user can spin up a machine and kick off new projects in minutes, in parentheses, MK370 crisis. This phrase probably refers to the NRO's capability to deploy computational resources to initiate new projects or analyses in response to a crisis like MH370. Now, considering the NRO is the agency specifically responsible for satellite recon, and I might add the NROL-22 satellite, they were likely involved in providing satellite imagery and intelligence to assist in the search efforts for the plane. Whether MK370 is an accidental typo or an intentional misspell in order to avoid being detected in keyword searches for MH370 can only be guessed. A comprehensive search I did of MK370 only turned up the name of a computer mouse model, with nothing that could be relevant to this NRO presentation. Assuming that MK370 refers to MH370, it is very interesting to me that this incident specifically would be mentioned, considering that the supposed source for the original leaked video is the NROL-22 US government satellite that would be managed by this agency. While some have suggested that the video footage of the plane is real, but then that the orbs were added with VFX post-production work, it seems exceedingly strange to me that the US government would not have released the real satellite footage to debunk the hoax video if this is the case. Yeah, like if somebody took that video, leaked it from the military and then they added the orbs and put it out, and same with the FLIR footage, it's like, why wouldn't the US government just give out the real footage? And also, it's like, if we knew exactly where the plane was, why couldn't they find the plane? So that to me doesn't make any sense. Like, I don't think there's a world in which the video is originally real, but then the orbs were added in. I think no, it's either a hoax and it's all fake, or it's all real. That's my opinion.
Straight up. Completely agree.
Yeah. Okay, so at this point, I'm sure your head is spinning. Mine certainly was as I was researching this, and even now, it's hard to keep everything straight. But there's one last thing that you might be wondering. If the footage is real, what happened to the person who leaked it? Surely you can't just leak that kind of top secret classified world-changing intelligence without being caught by the US government, right? Like, yeah, you would think so. Well, whatever you think of Ashton Forbes, I have to give the man credit for doing his research. He believes he found the only man who could have been the original source of this footage. According to Ashton, his name is Lieutenant Commander Edward C. Lin. In order to find his identity, Ashton investigated whether or not it was possible for the military to hide criminal charges from the public for this sort of thing, like if they had to release this information at all, and found that the answer is no. It is not okay for them to have any kind of charges filed against someone and not release it to the public, so all this stuff should technically be public. So, he searched for every single person who was charged between 2014 and 2017 with anything related to espionage. He searched through this list for someone with signals experience, who would have worked with communication assets. Edward checked that box. Ashton also found that Edward had been deployed to an elite and covert aerial surveillance squadron just a month before MH370 went missing. It's also on record that he had complete access to the Navy's Black program portfolio.
Fuck, we gotta check on our boy Eddie.
He's okay.
He's okay?
He's okay. Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what happened. In Edward's lawyer's official statement, he said that the classified information Edward had leaked was, quote, available on the internet, and that the investigation into him had begun right around the time MH370 went missing. The government actually ran a sting operation on him involving a female FBI agent that gained his favor and pretended to be his lover in order to try to get charges to stick and create the narrative of him being a spy before they eventually arrested him in September of 2015. So they ended up trying to use this to hammer him with charges that would result in life in prison. But their case ended up completely breaking down. While the media reported that Lin supposedly was spying for China in Taiwan, there ended up being literally no evidence of this that they could bring into court.
Of course, Eddie wouldn't do that. He was just trying to let the public know what was actually going on. Like, he's not trying to hurt anyone. He's just blowing that whistle.
I love that you're so on board with, like, this is the guy. Look, I'm presenting all of this as Ashton Forbes presented it and researched it. And like, there's a lot of this stuff is totally documented because it's all public record. So I think it's really interesting, but I'm not like 100% that this is necessarily the guy because I just want to keep an open mind. But I certainly think that this is all, once again, just like more crazy pieces to this puzzle. Okay. Rob Bracknell, the military's lawyer, said, quote, "While this case didn't end up being related to foreign intelligence, not really a spy case, it does send a strong message to the force about taking care to safeguard sensitive and classified information." So the fact that they said it didn't end up being related to foreign intelligence when the whole basis for the case was trying to say that he leaked information to Taiwan and China, things just aren't adding up, right? It's confusing. It's worth noting that this was the first case of espionage by an active member of the Navy since the end of the Cold War. So, big deal. Ashton alleges that the government was terrified to go to trial where they would have to confirm the legitimacy of the video evidence in order to get a conviction. So they settled for a plea deal. They dropped all the espionage charges and agreed on a 9-year sentence for dissemination of information. Notably, Edward even pled guilty to a charge of mishandling classified material in an aerial search and rescue operation in 2014.
Okay. I'm sorry, but like this is proof enough for me that our boy Eddie is the guy.
I love that you're so sure. I personally am a little bit more on the fence. I want to see a little more concrete proof that it was him before I'm just like 100%, because all these facts, they do line up, but we don't have any solid confirmation on this. You know, we're still kind of putting the pieces together and creating this picture, but like we don't have the 100% like his admission or anything. And, you know, speaking of that, Ashton has tried to contact him multiple times since he was released in 2021, but he has never spoken publicly to either deny being the leaker of the video or confirm it. So this is all just conjecture.
I mean, he's not trying to catch more time. Let's be real. Like, if he was the guy, he's not going to go out and say he's the guy now.
For sure. Or catch a bullet in the head, right? Like, exactly. That's what I think would be more likely, for sure.
Yeah,
like,
he's not trying to get got. Like,
yeah, it's worth mentioning that he was also apparently severely abused when he was in prison, awaiting trial, which ended up, you know, being a plea deal, and intimidated, basically tortured, beaten up by guards, etc.
Our boy gets catfished, then tortured and abused. Like, if you need a safe space, Edward, like, I got a bunker. Like, I got you. I just need to know. I need to know. Did you release the video?
I would give anything for him to say that, but like I think in a million years he would not, because he was clearly beaten down. He literally had to serve years in prison because of this. Like, I don't think he would ever come out and say the truth. And also, he would have probably been convinced that what he did was actually wrong and was a threat to national security. You know, I'm sure that they got in his head and told him that was the case. And maybe that is partially the case. I don't know if the world can handle this kind of information. Before we wrap things up, as always, I have one more twist in the story to share with you.
Another one?
Another one. I know, it feels like the story is just like all twists, but no, this one is pretty crazy. By this time, you're familiar with Lou Elizondo. As I mentioned in a previous episode, he resigned in 2017 from the Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, ATIP, and the Advanced Weapons System Application Program, or OSAP. He then became a whistleblower, notifying the public of the existence of these programs while still maintaining the need for some secrecy around these issues for purposes of national security. Here is the wild part. His resignation letter is dated October 4th, 2017, just one day after the concluding report by the Australia Transport Safety Bureau on MH370 was released, stating that no definitive evidence had been found. So that's the report we reviewed. This is the main report that was released about this. Remember I said Australia stepped in to really handle the investigation, spend a crazy amount of money on this. And this is the report they released saying that like, we have no idea. This seems crazy that it could disappear, but it did. And we still have no answers. So that report was released. And then he literally the next day resigned. I mean, yeah, it totally might just be a coincidence. Like it might be. I mean, I'm not saying that they're definitely connected. It's just an interesting thing to mention. And Liu also wrote on page 191 of his book Imminent that before he resigned, he had, quote, investigated a predator video of UAP. I would remind you that his job is specifically dedicated to investigating aerial threats. It seems impossible that he would not have been interested in finding out why a 777 passenger plane would seemingly disappear into thin air. Could it be that the US government and the official report's lack of transparency about the event was the final straw in what Liu saw as a persistent unwillingness to face the facts with honesty and integrity? Well, for now, and perhaps forever, we can only speculate. And look, I know that the story of MH370 does not end here. There are so many more wild theories about where this plane may have ended up and why it might be at Diego Garcia military base on a coral atoll in the Indian Ocean. Some people even believe that maybe the US government used reverse-engineered zero-point energy technology to kidnap this plane and take it somewhere for nefarious purposes. Like, conspiracies run wild, I know. I am absolutely not endorsing this theory, and quite frankly, my head is still spinning out of control from everything that I presented you guys with in this episode. But if you think that this is a rabbit hole that might be worth going down, even just for fun, tell me in the comments and on Patreon, because like I would go there just like to see what we encounter. Like, I'm not saying that there's anything worth even talking about. That's why I'm asking you guys. If somebody listening really wants to explore this idea or has some cool information about it, tell me if you want me to check it out. But anyway, I want to keep in mind that while this case is a true mystery that is as mind-boggling as they get, more than anything else, it is a tragedy. The lives of the 227 passengers and 12 crew members on that plane were lost in a gut-wrenching and reality-defying way that has prevented the loved ones of all the victims from ever truly getting closure. While the wild theories around this case are certainly entertaining to discuss, we must never lose sight of the loss of these souls and the impact this event had on everyone who knew and cared for them. Wherever they are, may they all rest in peace.
Yes, that is the saddest thing about this whole case, is that there's no answers for the family members and loved ones, and they have no idea what happened. And that would haunt me if I lost a loved one in a plane like this where it just vanished. Like, that would haunt me for the rest of my life on this earth in this body. Although it's fun to speculate, I'm so glad, Shelby, that you're bringing it back to, yes, so many people were impacted by this, and it was absolutely horrible. And that's why I think we deserve answers, and why I wish the government wouldn't suppress information.
I know. Although I want the answers for myself, because I want to know, like, are these videos real? What happened to the plane? Is there any information that's being kept from the public? Is there anything more they could do to try to find it? Like, I'm not the one who even deserves those answers. Their family members do, and anybody who knew and loved anybody on that plane, like, they more than anyone else deserve to be told the truth about what happened. So obviously, I'm not saying that it was zapped into another dimension by orbs. I just brought that up today because of all the evidence I did present with you that I think is pretty compelling. But no matter what happens, even if the plane is just at the bottom of the ocean, like, it's devastating that it has never been found. Now, while I may revisit this case in the future, for now we are going to get back to some cold, hard reality. And when I say cold, I mean cold. With my next episode about a harrowing pioneer tale involving cannibalism and the Old West. I know.
I'm excited for that one. Like,
trust me, this story is going to shake you up. Like, Casey, it's going to shake you up. Anybody listening, this one is a doozy. It's terrifying. All right, so now I want to hear from you, the listener. Do you think the video is real? Like, both videos, are they a hoax, or are they leaked government footage that we were never meant to see? Tell us on our Patreon and on social media, because we really want to hear from you. Like, I want your thoughts. Was there information I missed? Is there something I got wrong? Tell me. Tell us on our Patreon. And after hearing everything I shared today and in my last episode, what do you think happened to Malaysian Flight 370? Like, where is it? Is it at the bottom of the ocean? Was it a mechanical failure? Was it pilot suicide? Or was it stolen by aliens? Let us know. On patreon.com/chillseeker and social media at @chillseekerpodcast on Instagram, @chillseekerpod on TikTok, and @chillseeker_pod on X. Now, Casey, what do you think happened to MH370? Like, I know that you lean towards the orbs, but like, give me a detailed answer of like why you made your mind up, or is it totally made up? Is it like a 70-30 type situation? Like, you think it was probably taken? Like, just give me your answer on that.
I tend to believe that the plane is probably in the ocean, but not for the reasons that people think. Like, I think so many people assumed that the plane had engine failure and just crashed into the ocean. I think possibly the orbs led the plane into the ocean, because I personally believe that that's where the UAPs are being built somehow in the ocean, because to me, it makes the most sense. It's the perfect hiding spot. We only know a tiny sliver about our oceans. So because I do believe the video is real, I think that's likely what happened. But what do you think, Shelby?
Okay, yeah, I love your answer, and I totally did this to you because I presented all the stuff about, the 4chan leaker and the base in the ocean in my last episode, which is, it's so much fun to think about, and like, obviously none of this can be even close to proven, so it's all speculation. But for me, I think still Occam's razor is that the plane is at the bottom of the ocean, and I just don't know. Like, at this point, I think I'm 50-50 on the videos being real and something happening with the orbs. For what purposes, I don't know. And then also the other 50%, like, I think it's still possible that maybe it was just a mechanical failure and these videos are fake, because, the paper trail or the digital trail is so convoluted, and I am not an expert enough to really be able to understand all the timestamps of things and the details of what went down when, and if these files were really there in 2014. Like, I just don't know. So I can't say that I believe with certainty that it's not a hoax. But I am, like I said, like 50-50. My tinfoil hat is on, because I have to say, I think there's a pretty good likelihood that the videos are real, which sounds crazy, and I hope that nobody thinks I'm crazy. But, with all the evidence I presented, I think it's at least a theory worth entertaining, even if you think it's totally ridiculous. So yeah, that's my answer.
I don't think anyone's going to think you're crazy. I think I'm probably the one that leans a little more crazy in this dynamic.
No, you're not crazy at all. I love that you're so like gung-ho with the conspiracies. I think it's really fun. And I know, like, you're so smart. You can entertain these ideas and just kind of like jump down there and sit with it and be with it, but like not necessarily 100% believe, you know what I mean? But it's fun to entertain. It's fun to imagine, like, okay, for a second, like, this is real, and let's just talk about it. Let's think about it. So that's really why I presented this story today, because I have a lot of fun doing that and going down these rabbit holes. And this is not a podcast. I want to make that clear. Like I said, I'm doing an Old West tale next. We're going to do animal attacks. I'm doing shark attacks, cave diving disasters. You're doing NDEs and past lives, reincarnation. So like, we're spanning a ton of different topics on here. It's not just about UFOs are real and the government's lying to us. But I started out with this because, like, I'm obsessed with it. I love it. I think it's fun. So anyway,
it's so much fun.
Thank you so much for listening and exploring all the things that keep us up at night. We appreciate you, truly. If you enjoyed this episode, please give us a 5-star rating wherever you're listening. It means a lot. And come on Patreon to tell us what you think and give us ideas for new episodes. Because, like, I'm totally down to do any episode that somebody brings up to me that I find compelling. Like, I want to do what you want to hear. You know what I mean? So let us know and we'll do it. Okay. Anyway, we really hope to see you next time, and keep seeking chills. Bye.
Bye.